Welcome to Reshape Your Life. I'm Jason Atkinson, certified health coach, nutritionist, and personal trainer. It's day 26 of the 28-day Ketogenic Challenge. Tomorrow is the final weigh-in, and I'm going to be announcing a winner in the next week or so. So stay tuned for that. I've put off my Q&A of the day video until the very end of the day. I'm out doing a little walk after dinner right now, and I just got a question from one of my clients in our that I've already answered in writing in one of the forums, but I wanted to tackle it here on the video while it's still fresh on my mind. So he wanted to know what is a good balance of protein and carbohydrates. So I think personally it's more helpful to look at it as a balance of protein to non-protein energy. So non-protein energy consists of fat and carbohydrate. Now in a ketogenic plan like the one we're doing here in the 28-day Ketogenic Challenge, you should keep carbohydrates as low as 25 grams per day. This cyclical method allows for a little higher carb intake on the weekend. And honestly, the way I do that, 20 grams a day, 25 grams a day during the week, and maybe as high as 250 grams a day on Friday and Saturday, it averages out to about 100 grams per day. But the effect of doing a very low amount and then swinging in the opposite direction to a very high amount has some specific benefits for the metabolism that you don't get from just a moderate restriction every day of the week. By the way, this is fat adapted strength training, and part of the reason for doing this is to get good at burning fat. But another benefit to the way I've got it structured is to get good at burning carbohydrate too. Because honestly, if you have excess body fat, it's because you're not good at burning carbohydrate. It's the insulin resistance that's not allowing glucose to be utilized in the muscle cells as an energy source. So it stays in the bloodstream, and because the glycogen is in the muscle is already topped off due to low activity and low muscle mass, it ends up getting stored as body fat. So part of this program is to get better at burning fat, and part of this program is to get better at burning carbohydrate when it's available. It's just a fact of human existence that throughout most of our history here on this planet, we haven't had access to a high amount of carbohydrate very frequently the way we do now. So in looking at these protein to energy ratios, for weight management, a 1-to-1 protein to energy ratio is good. So for example, 200 grams of protein, you would have 200 grams of dietary energy. For example, 100 grams of fat plus 100 grams of carbs, that's 200 grams of energy. So that's a 1-to-1 ratio. That's what you would do for weight maintenance. If you're actually wanting to gain weight, you would go 2-to-1 ratio. Did I say that right? No, I'm sorry. 1-to-2 ratio. So 2 grams of energy to every 1 gram of protein. For example, 200 grams of protein, 400 grams of energy. So 200 grams of fat, 200 grams of carbs, that's 400 grams of energy. That's a surplus or weight gain formula. If you're wanting to lose weight, or specifically to lose body fat, do the 2-to-1 protein to energy ratio. This is what I do most of the time, and then on the weekends it goes to maybe like a 1-to-1. So 2-to-1 protein to energy ratio looks like 200 grams of protein and only 100 grams of energy. Now you could allocate that 100 grams equally between carbohydrate and fat. So for example, 50 grams of each would be 100 grams total. I prefer to allocate more towards fat and keep the carbohydrate very, very low, because for me personally, carbohydrate causes a lot of hunger downstream, and I don't want that as an issue. So another thing that I wanted to say about the carbohydrate metabolism before I close this video out, there are a few factors that influence how much carbohydrate you can consume. Knowing that it's just an energy source and that it's entirely optional, there are some nutrient foods that have some carbohydrate in it, but for the most part, being that this is a very nutrient dense protocol, it's also a very low carbohydrate protocol because there are not a lot of very nutrient dense foods that contain a high amount of carbohydrates. So let that sink in for a minute. The factors that influence your amount that you can consume would be insulin sensitivity, like I mentioned before, so just your ability to uptake the glucose and use it as energy. That's insulin sensitivity. So if you have excess body fat, you definitely have insulin resistance. If you're above 20% body fat for a man or 30% body fat for a woman, I would keep the carbohydrate very, very low and treat that like pre-diabetes, because that is elevated, chronically elevated insulin that will eventually manifest disease symptoms if it's not taken care of. So you could allocate more or split it evenly between fat and carbohydrate, but I think it's better for long-term adherence to keep the carbohydrate very, very low, keep the protein as high as you can, because protein's not a source of energy. So that's the reason why that whole protein to energy ratio works so well, is due to this protein leverage. The fact that protein is not readily used as an energy source by the body. So even though it does have a caloric value, 4 calories per gram, same as carbohydrate, theoretically, that's true if they're burned in an oven and measured in a calorimeter, but that's not true when it's taken into the human body. It's not metabolized as an energy source. So, all right, more on that later. I'm going to go ahead and close this video down for today. I'll be back tomorrow with another one. And until next time, stay strong and enjoy the journey.